Time to go to the morgue.
Just to give you guys a look back and take a few pictures. I have seen apparition photographs taken out here. In fact, one night we caught one on the fire escape, and I never see people on that fire escape. And one night on that third floor up there in the middle, I could have sworn the picture looked like a cowboy with a shotgun in his hand. Now the 1800s, you know, were quite a wild time in this town. They did have a lot of cowboy activity, and all those gangs from over in Oklahoma, the Youngers, the James, and Billy's Kid, they were all known to have come through here. Baker's purple chimneys, the owner leaves them purple for the history. She likes it that way. And those are the balconies he put up. I've given up trying to see what they look like before Baker. Also wanted to mention, you know, he had hired a lot of people. They did appreciate all the money he spent in this town. He bought several houses, he bought the hotel, he hired almost everybody. But he hired a lot of people he really didn't have work for, and he was happy to have them sitting in the lobby and on the porches. He said, just hang out here and have a good time. Because he wanted his sick and other people who showed up here making him look good. He wanted them to see happy, healthy people, so it made him look good, you know. All right, come on around this way. This part of the hotel is called the Annex. And it's a little different because it was added on after the college started here. They realized the kitchen was below the dining room and it just wasn't big enough. So they built a bigger, better kitchen, and it's up on the same level as the dining room. Makes a lot more sense. The two levels above that, apparently they put piano lesson classrooms up there. And the top level is where Baker located his pain asylum, and that former kitchen in the basement, his morgue in 1937. We're going to go in. I'm going to show you Baker's bottle collection, but if you guys want to go see behind the hotel where they found it just 3 years ago, there's a paved road right down here. You have to walk, and it's kind of dark, so take a light. But there's a little building down there they built over it with a big window in it, and they turn the light on at night. It's kind of crazy when you see where it is, that nobody dug there in over 70 years, and there they were all this time, still intact. Come on in and see them.
Love the squeaky doors.
Okay, nothing's going crazy. What?
Have a seat for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about you, but my lower back appreciates it. So this is the morgue, and there's 3 little rooms down here, but it was originally the kitchen. Maintenance used this space though for many years. The laundry room is now behind me here, but this wall's new, so I suspect the whole kitchen used to go that way. This room we have Baker's original sign back there, and it said Cancer Curable Baker Hospital, which is a peculiar name. And I think it's ironic, don't you, that the word curable is the one that rusted away? Back in the corner over there, those are some of Baker's promotions he did about his hospital and his cure. He did a lot of that, and in fact, he had a magazine that went with his radio program. The program was called Know the Naked Truth, and the magazine The Naked Truth. Well, he was a liar, though, and a lot of what he was sending out were lies, and that's what got him arrested. He was talking about people that had been treated and died, and saying they were living a good life, and he would mention their real names and their hometowns, and it was easily verified that they were no longer living. So the feds could never catch him practicing medicine. They finally looked at his mail, and they mailed it, and they arrested him on mail fraud charges. Right over there is his mugshot. He was given 3 days before they took him away. And what did he do with that time? He took all the records out of his hospital and had a big bonfire. So for many years, there's been a lot of facts about it we just did not know. He also, we know, transferred everything he owned to that girlfriend, Thelma, I mentioned upstairs. She would come and get his cash, and he trusted her. She was also apparently one of those high-dollar maintenance ladies, you know. And while he was in jail, she married the son of a senator down in Texas that we know. But we don't really know how it all ended. Baker was always very secretive about his business. They said he always had big guns and big dogs, and nobody really knew what he was up to. He checked everybody in personally, took their cash himself, so nobody ever knew all that stuff. And when he died, it didn't appear that he had a clearly laid out estate or a will, and he didn't appear to die the rich man we know he was. He was found living on a boat down in Florida, and that was in the 1950s. Some people speculate that Miss Thelma might have gotten away with $3.5 million of his, because he sued her for only about $400,000 in his holdings. And maybe he got all that back, except for the cash. And he didn't want to sue for the whole amount because he didn't want anybody knowing how much there was. So there's still a lot of mystery there, but it's interesting. So here's this vaudeville days poster. I think he was kind of handsome back then, his younger days. Sinister though, he was a mesmerist, so that was part of his persona. He says on the bottom here though, I'm in this fight to the finish for humanity. He wanted people to see him as a crusader for the truth. You know, his program, Know the Naked Truth. Well, he was known to be slanted against the establishment, anti-government, anti-corporation, you know, but mostly the AMA. He was always fighting the AMA. And they were always fighting him because he was not doing something that was medically proven. Some people believe he actually believed in his cure, though. Right through the door here when we go, you'll see Baker sitting at that big desk you just saw in the lobby. Come on in here to the parts room, where we have his collection returned to the shelves.
Just caught him in action. That's why it looks that way.
Looking at the other thing.
What?
They look even worse with the mud on them, but these are the same jars Baker left behind when he went to jail. And we knew about his collection for many years because of this poster on the wall over here. There's a black and white picture. You can see he lined up the organs in jars, and he said, look, this is proof that I've cured cancer. Well, the jars with organs in them don't prove anything, do they? And if somebody was cured, why is there organ in a jar? So he might have even taken organs from the dead patients to put in those jars just so he could take this picture right there. We don't really know. We don't know what's in any of the jars either. As you can see, quite a few are still sealed in liquid. And there were a few that came out with fleshy pieces in them. We could not identify. We identified some of the jars, though, on this poster, but not the contents. None of them looked like any organs we could actually identify. One, however, we thought it was either an eyeball or maybe an ovary, and it was actually taken to Little Rock about 2 or 3 weeks ago for testing, and we learned just a few days ago there was a test done, and we have results, but we haven't gotten the official report yet. So look for a press release very soon on what was found in that jar. Larry Flaxman out of Little Rock will be the one. He's the one who's doing all that. You can see there's still something in a lot of those jars, but it's dried up. And all just very strange, isn't it?
Creamy substance. Yeah. It's just, that's crazy. Probably tar.
It may be sealing something in there.
Seal
For all we
it.
know, but who knows? Yeah, my ex used to collect old bottles, and I think they're so cool, but
Oh yeah, these are.
like quite a collection, yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about like going to the antique stores. Like these go for a lot of money.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
The amber ones?
Well,
With
just
the lids on them.
the apothecary, or is that how you pronounce it? Whatever
Yeah.
it's called, like those type of bottles.
Right.
are worth a lot. They're
Oh,
pretty
the
cool.
snake oil ones are worth a lot too.
Yeah, Baker may have had salesmen coming around with concoctions that he ended up with samples of. We don't know what any of this is.
Yeah.
And it was down here where he didn't show it to the public either, you know? It was just his private collection. The next room is the autopsy room. Come on back here and have a look. And take some pictures in the mirror back here.
It doesn't look for you, it looks for me.
Tiny little.
You're welcome to go into that little room there.
Pretty cool.
I just stopped. Oh, it won't. It'll usually keep going.
What is this? What's this room?
Yeah.
Probably the
Oh.
freezer.
Freezer. Whoa. I guess the door didn't get shut tight, did it?
Yeah, hopefully that's what it is.
Okay, I heard it creaking.
Yeah, I did too.
So this was all originally the kitchen, and that utility sink over there, we can't say was original to 1886, but it was probably here when
Wood
Baker's Hospital
floors.
was here. When it was installed, we don't know, but,
Yeah, I bet you this was a nice room.
and did they do autopsies? We don't know that either.
It's actually got seaweed
That
on the
little
door.
room, though, was original to the kitchen, and it was their ice box.
Yeah.
Walk-in meat locker, ice box. You can see the cork on the wall in the back, and the door is also lined with cork. It was never refrigerated, however, and we believe Baker's staff was putting the bodies in there when they waited for the undertakers in town to come and get them. We know from the 2 undertakers that were in town during that time period that they removed 40 bodies from Baker's Hospital.
Oh.
They sent the bodies home to the families on the railroad, and the railroad also had records of bodies. Y'all want to see some of my pictures from this room?
I didn't know that was a mirror. I just saw your reflection. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. If you guys find my page, it's called Ghost Tour Log on Facebook, and I've got years and years of pictures, and I've only got a handful of them here on my phone. Here's one of me, though, when I was wearing a mask. I was standing here under this blue light, and you can see a right hand hanging over my left shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I was standing here also another night when I had this picture, and it's actually part of a bigger picture, but I want to zoom in on this one. It looks like a woman and a little child, a little girl maybe, right here above my book. I'm holding this book, see? And the woman is very sad. I want to show you her face. Her eyes are red, and they're streaky all around and sad looking. See? And I don't know why they're hanging with me like this, but I feel like I'd like to help these people. And I don't spend much time down here other than when I'm doing my tour, so, you know, I don't know what to do. But here's the other part of this picture. You can see the same woman and child are up here, but there's another one standing here next to me, and their hand is on my book. And they're wearing a costume or something white over their head, but you can see the little face looking up at me. A little one. Now, I had a woman here one night, and she was very strange on my tour. She told me before we started that she had seen a ghost in the past, and it was no big deal, but then she was kind of not really with us on the tour, you know. She carried a meter, but she didn't pay attention to it. Anyway, she had an experience where she saw a bunch of children down here, and they were all around her, she said, grabbing onto her and begging her for help. It was very disturbing. And that's when I started my page on Facebook. This photograph came from a guest who took it in that mirror right there, and it's reflecting back into the doorway. And you can't see much until you zoom in, but it's back here, and it was one of those little live pictures. There's actually 4 individuals there. And I zoomed in on it. I'm going to show you what I got. The tall figure was the one walking through the door. And then there's a guy with a beard and 2 children.
That's great.
And I just showed you a sad woman and 5 children and a young man with a beard and a tall figure. Well, a really strange thing happened one time. Last February, I was down in Key West, and I got a text from my daughter who lives a couple of blocks from here, and she's psychic. She's always having all kinds of things. But she said, "Mom, your ghosts are over here looking for you." And I said, "What do you mean? Tell me more." She said, "Well, it's like a family unit. There's a tall one. There's a young man wearing a hat. He wants a cigar and a whiskey. There was a very sad woman, she said. I had to ask her to leave. She was bringing me down. And she said there were 3 little children. 1 little boy sucking his thumb and 2 little girls. Is that not crazy? She told me they were looking for mother. And she asked them, my mother? And they didn't answer. And she said, you mean from the hotel? And they fluttered like that was an answer. I don't know, that was how she said, she explained it. But I haven't told her about all these ghosts. I showed her the pictures later. Isn't that crazy? Why were they looking for me? I told them this past winter I went away also. I said, I'll be back. So they didn't come looking for me as far as I know. But really weird things happened, and just kind of few and far between. But I started that page with that strange lady
The
and
light's
her
on.
child incident. The hotel actually asked me to write it up, and they used it as a promotion
Mm-hmm.
Been on.
around Halloween. They called it the Children of the Morgue. You can
Magnetic.
probably Google that.
And then goes
But my version of it is
Probably
on my
magnetic.
page, Ghost Tour Log. Anyway, I hope y'all have enjoyed the history I shared with you tonight as much as the ghost stories. Our little town has some stories to tell, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In this hotel. I'm having a lot of fun here, and I do appreciate the management. The owners have been wonderful for our town and these 2 hotels, and they did pay to have a lot of research done to make sure that we knew the history and the facts. The ghost tours were started here by psychics who also told a lot of the stories that were told for years that kind of got out of hand and weren't correct. And they did research to try and verify some of them, and they couldn't find anything on some, so we've eliminated some of those old stories. But I do have a little warning. There's no kids on this tour, but sometimes we get them. And I've seen kids come here many times with these meters, and they're talking to ghosts, and they're wandering around just thinking it's fun. And it is, and I try to be safe about it on the tour, but a lot of kids these days see it on TV, and they think it's fun to go ghost hunting. But, you know, I've seen things happen, especially the puberty ages. They're vulnerable. I've seen kids get scratches, and they get poked quite a bit in here. They get poked. And I've seen some of them actually have spirits jump and go with them or come with them and stuff like that. And I think this has happened to my daughter as well. And she knows how to deal with it now. But in her puberty stages, you know, it was very difficult, and I didn't know how to deal with it then at all. Anyway, just a little warning if y'all know kids that are messing around, especially with Ouija boards, don't let them do that. But I hope this has been fun. I hope it shows I'm having fun. And if you guys have enjoyed the tour, the tip jar there is for my benefit. And I'm really blessed to get the gifts that I do. It seems like 10 to 20% of our ticket price is what's normal, and it's like I said, it's a blessing, tax free. Makes a difference. Now I gotta lock up the doors before we head out, so I'm gonna be last. And if you guys want to lead the way, we're gonna go through this door. We're gonna stop at the other end of the basement if you'd like. I'll tell you about that part of the hotel, and then when we get to the lobby, I'll show you that video if you'd like to see it of our ghost cat. And then we'll say goodnight. You want to get rid of that thing now?